Hello, welcome back to the Breaking News Update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you're watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a ton of big news lined up that I'd like to brief you all on today. So today's date is April 19th, 2025, and it's Saturday. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend so far and getting ready for Easter Sunday tomorrow. Hope you can get out with your family, enjoy some time maybe at a park, and go ride some bikes or something. So, hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to talk about this war today and new reports here on your screen regarding Easter. Putin declares Easter truce, halting hostilities until end of day on Easter. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared a unilateral Easter ceasefire on Ukraine, ordering his forces to end hostilities at 6 p.m. Moscow time or 1500 GMT on Saturday until the end of Sunday. So this is going to be very interesting. Right now, at the time that I record this, it's 9:11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the United States. So right now, it's just a little bit past 7 p.m. in Moscow. So it looks like this truce is completely in effect right now. And meanwhile, just about an hour and a half ago, Ukraine was under an air raid alert. So this was less than an hour prior to the truce taking effect. They were already being attacked by Russian Shahed drones. So obviously Russia taking advantage of every minute they have to strike Ukraine, even just prior to this truce taking effect. Also reports up in the Kharkiv region, this is in northeastern Ukraine. The city of Kupiansk was heavily attacked over the last 24 hours with more than 10 strikes reported. We had lots of Russian glide bombs entering that area. I've got pictures coming out showing massive damage over there. Also in the Odessa area of Ukraine, this is in southwestern Ukraine. Attacks reported there last night. Also, Russia attacking Odessa once again with Shaheeds. We have fire and damage reported in that area. Also, some attacks taking place inside of Russia. Last night, Ukraine did launch some drones. One of the major targets that I heard of was the 112th Missile Brigade again. Okay, so it's the third time this week that that Ukraine's carrying out attacks on the 112th. They're located up in the Ivanova region of Russia, just northeast of Moscow. In the city of Shuya, they were being attacked once again in retaliation for all these missile attacks that have been taking place inside of Ukraine. The 112th Missile Brigade is being accused of attacking Sumy last Sunday on Palm Sunday in Ukraine. We had well over 30 people killed and over 100 wounded. And also we had Iskander missiles striking Kharkiv. And this 112th Missile Brigade is responsible for all these strikes. And also we're going to go over a story. Major prisoner swap exchange taking place today. Think about 247 troops on either side. So I've got videos and pictures coming out from Ukraine on that as well. We reported that to you guys yesterday. So let's go ahead and jump into this, guys. We'll start off here with Anton Gerashenko on X. Putin declared an Easter truce. He ordered the Russian army to stop combat from 6 p.m. today to midnight on Monday. He said it will show whether the Kiev regime is ready for negotiations. Russia has already declared and violated such ceasefires before. It's almost an hour before the declared ceasefire, and there's an air raid alert in the Kiev region. So just note something here. We're supposed to be hearing some major developments coming up this coming week, regarding a ceasefire deal between Russia and Ukraine. So it makes you wonder if Russia might have something planned here. As we also recently heard over the last couple of days, Ukraine was very worried about Russia carrying out strikes inside of Ukraine on civilians, especially on Easter Day. So take a look at this, about a minute long, and we'll have subtitles at the bottom of the screen.
Руководствуясь гуманитарными соображениями, сегодня с 18:00 часов до 00 часов с воскресенья на понедельник российская сторона объявляет пасхальное перемирие. Приказываю на этот период остановить все боевые действия. Исходим из того, что украинская сторона последует нашему примеру. При этом наши войска должны быть готовы к отражению возможных нарушений перемирия и провокаций со стороны противника, любых его агрессивных действий. Мы знаем, киевский режим более 100 раз, как вы мне и докладывали, нарушал договоренности о ненанесении ударов по энергетической инфраструктуре. Поэтому прошу быть крайне внимательными и собранными, быть готовыми к немедленному ответу в полном объеме. Наше решение о пасхальном перемирии покажет, насколько искренней является готовность киевского режима и его желание, да и способность соблюдать договоренности, участвовать в процессе мирных переговоров, направленных на устранение первопричин украинского кризиса.
Okay, so we can see here Vladimir Putin declaring this Easter truce, and all hostilities should cease from the Russian side. We'll see if that happens to be the case. But if you notice, one thing he's really talking a lot about here is making sure that Ukraine will comply with this. And he also mentions the upcoming talks this week that maybe we might see some sort of ceasefire upcoming soon. So it makes you wonder if Russia could have something again up their sleeve and be planning to point the fingers at Ukraine and say, well, they violated this truce. They're not ready to end this war. And maybe this could be some sort of setup here on Ukraine to have this war continue, yet to put all the blame onto Ukraine. And Russia's going to come out looking like the good guy here. So you guys can let me know what you think about that. But something fishy seems weird about this whole Easter truce. Now, from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, I have just received a report from Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky. Today, our forces continue their activity on the territory of the Kursk region and are holding their positions. In the Belgorod region, our warriors have advanced and expanded our zone of control. As for yet another attempt by Putin to play with human lives, at this moment, air raid alerts are spreading across Ukraine at 17:15. Russian attack drones were detected in our skies. Ukrainian air defense and aviation have already begun working to protect us. Shahed drones in our skies reveal Putin's true attitude toward Easter and toward human life. Okay, so basically claiming that, why is Russia attacking us at the last minute just prior to this truce going into effect? Okay, so he's also mentioning that Ukrainian forces are operating still in the Belgorod region. As far as we know, too, they're still inside of the Kursk region as well. Okay, so that's an update from Zelensky today. Now, from next, Ukraine's first reaction to the Easter ceasefire. Why only 30 hours and not an unconditional ceasefire as we proposed back on March 11th? Good question by Andriy Kovalenko, the head of the Center for Countering Disinformation on Telegram. Meanwhile, air raid alerts have been declared in Kiev and several other regions of Ukraine. Air defenses are active. Less than an hour remains until Putin's so-called Easter ceasefire. Yeah, you would think that Russia would just not attack Ukraine tonight. I mean, I understand that the truce is not into effect just yet, but I mean, literally an hour before, that's got to send a major message, right? Like, Russia definitely wants to take advantage of every minute that they have, all the way up to the run-up of this war potentially coming to an end. Or is it possibly a sign showing that Russia does not want to end this war, and they're just kind of playing around with Ukraine right now? Now from Max 24. On January 5th, 2023, Putin announced a 36-hour Christmas ceasefire. There was no ceasefire. The assaults continued as before. Moreover, Russia was then regrouping near Bakhmut, and exactly by the morning of January 6th began an assault on Soledar, which was occupied by the end of the following week. In the afternoon of January 6th, Russia shelled Kherson, killing people. On April 21st, 2022, Putin ordered the assault on Azovstal to be called off, but Russia continued to bomb the plant with high explosive bombs as if nothing happened. Okay, so Max 24 just kind of sharing some different times in the past where Russia would claim that, they're calling for a truce or they're stating they're not going to do something, but they do the complete opposite, basically saying that, Russia cannot be trusted, which I'm sure a lot of you can agree with that. Now from Savchenko, Vladimir Easter truce. This looks like a provocation since Ukraine's refusal to participate in this unplanned truce could be used by Russia to have the American administration blame Ukraine. Russia is also often uses such truces to regroup troops, replenish supplies, and prepare for new offensives. At the end of the truce, long-range strikes against Ukraine and a more massive offensive to occupy the territory are possible. During the decrease in the intensity of fighting, the Russians can transfer fresh forces, replenish reserves, repair equipment, and strengthen positions. Yeah, I mean, Russia's definitely going to take advantage of this time while they're not having to attack Ukraine. They probably will replenish a lot of their reserves and their weapons, prepare new offensives coming down the road, maybe another aerial attack onto Ukraine very soon with missiles. But this whole talk about blaming Ukraine, I mean, I told you guys that yesterday. I put out an update video regarding the ceasefire deal that maybe Ukraine might be, having the fingers pointed at here very soon, and the U.S. could be setting up Ukraine to basically throw them under the bus very soon also. And it could look very bad for Ukraine over the next week, and they might be left out in the open here, just being defended by Europe only, and the U.S. might completely pull support for Ukraine. I mean, things could definitely change on a dime here very quick, and I have a very big feeling we're going to hear some major developments coming this week. Now for Bliskovka, a blackout regime is being introduced in the Kherson region on Easter from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. It is forbidden to turn on street lights and lights in houses, according to the RMA. The decision was made due to the risk of provocations from the Russians. Okay, so looks like the city of Kherson, southwestern Ukraine, is trying to focus on protecting their civilians, and they're afraid that Russia might attack them on Easter. Who knows? I mean, this whole thing could just completely fall apart. I mean, 24 hours is a long time, and I don't expect Russia to hold up the entire time, but maybe they will. And it looks like the city of Kherson is worried about being heavily shelled by Russia here very soon. Now from Leskovka, 5 people wounded in Kupiansk as a result of Russian massive shelling, reports the Kharkiv military administration. Russians dropped 10 guided bombs on the city overnight, including the ODAB or ODAB 1500 high explosive detonating bomb. Okay, so we can see lots of aerial bombs attacking into the city of Kupiansk. So we know this area is being heavily attacked right now. Kupiansk is one of the frontline cities right now in the Kharkiv region, and the Russians are trying to take it over. So they've been heavily shelling here. You can see lots of damage as homes being destroyed over here, rubble all over the place, fires, smoke everywhere. And this looks like even a small village nearby here, maybe not even the heart of the city. So lots of damage reported in Kupiansk. Now for Bliskovka, Russia attacked Odessa region again. Farms were destroyed, it reports the SES. Fires caused by shelling were extinguished by both rescuers and the local fire brigade. Preliminary, no casualties. So that's very good news. Nobody has been harmed in these attacks from the Shahid drones last night inside of Odessa. 40-second video. Take a look at this. All right, so thankfully nobody was hurt last night, but we did have some damage in the city of Odessa once again. It's probably at least 3 to 5 times a week that we report to the city of Odessa being heavily attacked by drones. So this was new video coming out today showing firefighters putting out the blaze in multiple homes and buildings. Now for Max 24, Shuya, Russia again. Okay, so it's the 112th Missile Brigade we were talking about at the beginning of the video. 3 times this week, including tonight, that we've had the 112th being attacked. Looks like Ukraine was launching drones over there again, and they were responsible for missile Iskander strikes inside of Ukraine. Take a look. All right, just a short clip here, 11 seconds long, but we can see Russian air defense teams trying to bring down these incoming drones. Not sure if there's any damage over here last night, but we do know that Ukraine was trying to target them once again. And again, they just attacked Kharkiv just yesterday, I believe, or the day before. And same thing, Iskander missiles targeting over there. So the 112th up here in the Ivanovo region in the city of Shuya. Also, the 448th Missile Brigade in the Kursk region, both of them directly responsible for Iskander missile strikes. So Ukraine's been going after them lately. Now for Max 24, Novorossiysk is what Max 24 is reporting here. So I'm not really sure what happened here. Could this be just a home that caught on fire? I don't really know. But we had some sort of explosion and fire breaking out over here in the city of Novorossiysk. Okay, this is close to the Black Sea. Down in southwestern Russia. I think it's in the Krasnodar region. It's a major port city for Russia, and it could have been a Ukrainian drone crashing over here. Very possible, because we know drones were entering into Russia last night, so that was a video coming out from there. Now from next to one of the best kinds of news there can be. 277 Ukrainian defenders have returned home from Russian captivity. These are soldiers of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the National Guard, the State Special Transport Service, and Border Guards. They defended Mariupol and other front lines in Donetsk, Kherson, Zaporizhia and Luhansk regions. Since the beginning of the full-scale war, a total of 4,552 people, both military and civilian, have been brought home. All right, guys, so amazing news today. 277 Ukrainian defenders returning home. Here's some pictures coming out showing them being greeted by friends and family. And just an awesome way to start off the weekend, especially coming up on Easter Sunday. And we've got a video coming out for you guys as well. Let's take a look at that. All right, guys. So very amazing to see this. 277 Ukrainian soldiers returning back home, and I believe this was a 277 for 277 swap. So the Russians would have received another 277 prisoners of war as well on their side. Okay, so moving on to another update from the Ukrainian Review. Trump is going to put pressure on a weak Ukraine on the principle of now or never. That's why Donald and the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance say that the end of the war is soon, according to the Washington Post. Okay, so this is exactly what I talked to you guys about yesterday. Now more information is starting to come out. Ukraine is going to be handed a very horrible ultimatum. That's what it's looking like to me, and I could be wrong on that, but just kind of my theory, it seems like they're going to be given a proposal for a ceasefire deal with Russia, and it's not going to be favorable for Ukraine at all. It's going to be highly favorable for the Russians, and Ukraine is most likely going to have to reject. And at that point, all the fingers could possibly be pointed at Ukraine, and they're going to say it's all Ukraine's fault why this war is not ending. We could see the U.S. retaliating, pulling all support and also intelligence sharing with Ukraine, and they could be left out in the open for Russia to take advantage of them, and they're going to be left being defended by Europe only, no longer the United States. So this is not looking good. We continuously hear this information, but we'll wait for further confirmation before we jump to a complete conclusion, okay? So we'll see how that goes. Now, from the Ukrainian Review, Rubio's threats to withdraw the U.S. from the peace talks are mostly aimed at Ukraine, according to Axios. Before public statements about the rejection of Russian-Ukrainian diplomacy, Trump, in a private conversation, expressed disappointment over the futility of peace talks. Okay, so Trump not happy with the way peace talks are going, and according to Axios, Rubio's threats to withdraw the U.S. from peace talks are mostly aimed at Ukraine. So once again, more information showing that Ukraine is going to be blamed potentially for this war not coming to an end soon, and they could be forced into a corner accepting a very bad deal. Okay, so just be prepared for that if that happens to come. Now, for Max 24, the plan for settling the war presented by U.S. to European partners does not include U.S. participation in ensuring Ukraine's security, which could become an obstacle to implementation, according to the Washington Post. Ukraine will be forced to rely on its own forces and assistance from Europe. Okay, so again, more information showing Ukraine's in a bad spot here. And if you notice here on the very top where it talks about U.S. participation in ensuring Ukraine's security. So those are like security guarantees for Ukraine from the U.S. Looks like they're not going to offer Ukraine any security guarantees, and that's exactly what Ukraine's been calling for. So what's going to happen if they don't get that? Most likely they're going to have to reject any peace offer unless they're able to work something out with the U.S. But so far, it looks like the U.S. is not willing to budge very much and give Ukraine much of what it wants. And it looks like they kind of want to hand over a large portion of Ukraine to Russia, as we talked about yesterday, with all these territories that Russia's controlling. Now, from Liskovka, a full ceasefire may be agreed in London next week, the New York Post reports, citing a Trump administration official. According to the newspaper, Ukraine's defense minister told the U.S. that Kyiv is 90% in favor of the American peace framework proposed in Paris. Okay, so this is interesting. Take a look at this from New York Post. Ukraine is 90% ready to agree to U.S. peace proposal. Now it's up to Russia, according to an official. So I don't know if this actually took place because we've got a report right after this that's completely contradicting this. But Ukraine being 90% ready to agree to a U.S. peace proposal, we'll have to wait to see what exactly that proposal is going to be. But so far, we've been seeing some hints that it's not going to be favorable for Ukraine. Okay, so take a look at this now from Liskovka. Ukraine has denied that Kyiv has 90% agreed to the U.S. peace plan, which was allegedly presented in France this week by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry told Sky News that it does not make political decisions and cannot evaluate them in terms of percentages. They also reminded that Russia does not observe a moratorium on strikes on energy infrastructure. So, I mean, look at that. Now we've got Ukraine completely denying this. So, is the New York Post lying? I don't really know what's going on here. Just want to show you guys both sides of that story. Is Ukraine going to agree to a peace plan this week? Are they going to reject it? Is Russia going to do the same, or are they going to reject it? We'll have to see what happens, guys, as we go into this week. So they're also talking about here about Russia not observing a moratorium on strikes on energy. It looks like that is no longer a thing. Okay, as we heard just in the last day or so, Russia pretty much coming out and saying that they will now start attacking Ukrainian energy as the truce between energy strikes and moratorium on strikes has now ended, at least on the Russian side. Now, for more translated in Krasnodar, 100 Russian soldiers detained, for going AWOL, tried escaping the commandant's office, breaking a fence. City streets are sealed. Security forces encircling. 7 fled. 4 caught. 3 still free. Held for desertion, per Russian media. So this was video coming out showing lots of police forces in the streets. Heavy presence here to catch a lot of Russian soldiers that were trying to desert and run away from the commandant's office, which would be like a Russian officer in control of these units. And I think it was upwards of 150 Russian soldiers that were trying to escape. I mean, this just happens to show as well inside of Russia that there's a lot of soldiers that don't want to participate in this war. That's most likely they're being forced into it, and that they didn't choose this. Okay, so they don't want to be a part of the fighting inside of Ukraine. I know maybe there's a lot of soldiers that don't mind, they want the paycheck, but there are some people in Russia that don't want to be a part of this and don't want to enter into Ukraine. So pretty insane video coming out today. Now, for Max 24, Russia has always been ready for negotiations and welcomes the desire of the US, China, and other countries for a fair settlement of the Ukraine issue, according to Putin. 99.5% of Kursk region liberated from the AFU, according to Russian General Staff. And also, Putin stated, Ukraine has struck our energy facilities more than 100 times after the ban. So these were some of the statements coming out from Putin today. It was probably during that same meeting while Putin was announcing the Easter ceasefire. And yeah, so some other things he's stating here: 99.5% of Kursk has been liberated. Let me know if you think that's true. I mean, we know that Ukraine is still operating in the Kursk region, just not as much territory as they had before. But yeah, just some of the statements coming out from Putin today. Okay. Now, for Max 24, Keith Kellogg on Fox News. We have stated very clearly Ukraine will not become a part of NATO. This idea is not new. We have been saying this since 2008, when U.S. Ambassador to Russia told U.S. Secretary of State that this was an unattainable goal. All right, so once again, we've got the U.S. side coming out saying that Ukraine is not going to join NATO. I mean, we've heard this probably 50 times from Keith Kellogg's mouth that Ukraine is not going to join NATO. But we also heard just recently last week, or earlier this week, from the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. He came out saying that Ukraine will eventually be able to join NATO. They're on an irreversible path to joining NATO at some point, maybe after the war comes to an end. So it's very contradicting there on either side. But the U.S.'s stance here is basically saying that Ukraine will never be able to join NATO. We keep hearing that every day, basically. Now, from Ukrainska Pravda in English, Kiev's EU accession bid moving faster than any in history, Ukraine's prime minister says. Okay, so this is Dennis Smile right here. This was a report coming out from Ukrainska Pravda today. So apparently he stated that Ukraine's going to be getting into the EU sometime soon. Okay, could they get in maybe this year or next year? Possible. But we know that Ukraine does want to join the EU, and I know a lot of people are happy about that if they happen to get in. So they probably will join at some point. Now, from Max 24, the EU can replace U.S. aid to Ukraine by increasing contributions by only 0.2% of GDP, says Christoph Trebesch, director of the Center for International Financial Studies at the Kiel Institute. What do you think, is what Max 24 says. So 0.2%, that's really not a lot of GDP from each EU country if they were to step up and increase by 0.2%. And reportedly, that could cover all the costs of Ukraine fighting this war. So if that's all it really takes, then maybe the EU can hold up their end and provide weapons for Ukraine. Now, the big question here is if the U.S. comes out and says, we won't accept any payments for the war in Ukraine, even if EU countries want to shell out cash to purchase weapons from the U.S. and the U.S. says, no, we're not going to provide any. That could be a big problem, as the U.S. does provide a lot of weapons for this war. But you guys let me know what you think on that. Now, from Bliskovka, the U.S. is no longer seriously considering supplying arms to Ukraine, the New York Times reports. According to the newspaper, Ukraine supporters in Congress believe that the current support from the Biden administration has already exhausted itself. At the same time, European officials have not received confirmation that the United States will continue to provide intelligence. In the White House, discussions about relations with Ukraine are increasingly focused on what America will get, not what it will give. So here's a report coming out today from the New York Times. Trump administration bolsters Putin with hint of abandoning Ukraine talks. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio both suggested Friday the United States might wash its hands of the peace effort. Okay, so we talked about this yesterday with the U.S. potentially pulling out of peace talks and trying to end this war. And yeah, just more talk about the U.S. might cut supplies and arms to Ukraine and also intelligence sharing. I mean, it's just the same narrative that we keep hearing coming out from the U.S. right now, and this is what I'm warning you guys about. Be ready to hear something like that coming up this week. Okay. Now, for more translated, Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service reports a coal crisis in Russia, cutting coal transport by 30% in 2025. A surplus of 295,000 rail cars strains infrastructure. Sanctions and export issues may also collapse Russia's transport system. Okay, so we already know their cargo train system in Russia is already not looking good. A lot of them have even been blown up. Tracks are being destroyed all the time. Locomotives just catching on fire. A lot of times it's Ukrainian operatives that are doing this, sabotaging these trains. So that's one really big thing. But aside from that, a coal crisis is definitely unfolding in Russia. We've been hearing about this for months now. Coal prices continue to collapse over there. Many cities even don't have coal to even operate a lot of their energy facilities to provide heating for a lot of the residents. So that's a big problem also. So just more talk about Russia's economy just completely going into the toilet now with the coal crisis unfolding in Russia. Now from Savchenko, Vladimir, Bundeswehr Inspector General Karsten Brewer gave in an interview to DW, Russia's ongoing military buildup indicates that it is preparing for a scale larger than the war in Ukraine. There is neither war nor peace between Germany and Russia, but there is a gray area of hybrid warfare, Moscow's favorite strategy. The Germans must be prepared to defend themselves not only against hybrid threats, but also against a direct Russian attack. But the Bundeswehr must continue to grow. Primary goal 460,000 soldiers, including regular forces and reservists. German society also needs to prepare for war to be more resilient, active, and ready for challenges. The Bundeswehr must be able to carry out direct military tasks, including at NATO level. Okay, so this was a report coming out today regarding Germany, and Germany's obviously worried about war with Russia, and they're getting prepared right now too. They want to up their military strength to 460,000 active soldiers, as many countries like Germany have very low numbers in terms of active troops. So Germany, once again, getting ready for war with Russia sometime in the future. Now for Max 24, AFU have pushed back the Russians in Udakne, if I'm saying that right, area of Donetsk region. The settlement is just 5 to 6 kilometers from the border with the Dnipropetrovsk region, according to Deep State. Okay, so this is near the city of Pokrovsk that we continue to hear. This would be Pokrovsk right here in the Donetsk region. Ukraine has been trying to hold on to this major transport and rail hub city. And primarily down here in this area, just southwest of Pokrovsk, Ukraine's been launching a lot of counterattacks in this area, trying to push the Russians back that are trying to circle around and potentially cut off this major highway that brings equipment into the city of Pokrovsk. And it looks like Ukraine has been able to make some gains over here in this town of Udakne, okay? Now from next up, decision on supplying Taurus missiles to Ukraine rests with MERS. Bavarian Premier Markus Söder has backed Germany's future chancellor in the debate over supplying Taurus missiles to Ukraine. The new chancellor will make that decision, he said in an interview with Augsburger Allgemein, if I'm saying that right. Söder also pointed out that the German Air Force has limited resources and that Germany itself needs as many of these missiles as possible. This is the best weapon we have, and clearly even the Russians are afraid of it. And he's not wrong. Just a few days ago, the Russian Foreign Ministry stated that if Germany uses Taurus missiles, it will consider it an act of war. Okay, so just another quick update regarding these Taurus missiles from Germany that could be going to Ukraine. Looks like we have the Bavarian Premier, Markus Söder, that's also backing Friedrich Merz, who's the incoming chancellor on May 6th. He's supposed to be brought into his position and could potentially announce that Taurus missiles are going to Ukraine very soon, probably as soon as next month. So it looks like he does have some backing inside of Germany, okay? Now, from Noel reports, at night, Russia launched a missile and drone attack. Shot down 0 of 2 Iskander-M ballistic missiles, 0-2 Onyx anti-ship missiles, 0-3 KH-31P anti-radiation missiles, 33 out of 87 Shahed drones. Another 36 drones were lost in location without inflicting negative consequences. So we had a lot of drones and missiles going into Ukraine last night. You can see different types of missiles being used here. And one of the first times I've heard of Onyx anti-ship missiles being used. Those were the same missiles that the Russians were preparing to send over to the Houthis, but they never did as far as we know. But yeah, good amount of drones being shot down or brought down by electronic warfare last night, but 87 Shahed drones attacking Ukraine, okay? Now, our final update of the day from the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of April 19th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. All right, guys, final update here. Russia's losses as of April 19th, 1,180 troops, 9 AFVs, 208 vehicles and fuel tanks, 14 tanks, 70 artillery systems, 111 UAVs, 1 MLRS, 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems, and 3 cruise missiles. Okay, so lots of attacks still taking place by the Russians. There's been a lot of videos coming out on X showing, multiple columns of Russian vehicles trying to attack, like in Zaporizhia, Donetsk region. Lots of regions right now, the Russians are carrying out a pretty massive offensive, and they're trying to speed up to create, a spring and summer offensive. So we're seeing a lot of numbers here that are very high right now. Troop numbers still pretty average, around 12 to 13 that we see, but the vehicles and fuel tanks still sitting high at 208. I think yesterday we were over 300, so still a lot of vehicles being destroyed. 14 tanks, a little higher than normal. 70 artillery systems, so artillery systems still very high, and lots of equipment still being shown that the Russians are still carrying out a lot of offensives onto Ukraine right now. And, I'm sure a lot of the land over there is starting to thaw out. A lot of the snow is starting to melt away. It's probably mostly gone by now, which is making it more easy for Russia to carry out their attacks onto Ukraine. So very big news coming out from this war today, guys. Let's see what happens over the next 24 hours. We'll see if this ceasefire holds up between Russia and Ukraine. But as far as we know, mainly only Russia declaring that they're going to hold up with this truce for Easter, but it's supposed to go out of effect tomorrow evening after Easter ends, okay? So I'll give you guys another update coming up on Monday, just to let you know I'm not here on Sundays, so hope you guys enjoy your Easter tomorrow. We'll be back at it Monday morning coming up on the 21st, okay? So hope you guys all have a great weekend. Enjoy your day out there tomorrow on Easter and be safe. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.